and welcome to the Experience Podcast. I am a multi-dimensional spiritual being that's having a blessed experience. And with me is...
They call me Dennis, and I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And today we're going to be talking, or not, we are going to be speaking, yes.
That was great.
Because that's how we communicate. And what we're going to be speaking on, I guess we'll find out. And I just want to say thank you for participating, and I invite you to open your heart. I invite you to open up your mind and not listen. Don't listen with your mind. Don't listen with your head. Listen with your heart. And and what that looks like is also living from a place of love and not a place from, or not from the ego. So what does living from love, or how do you see that, Neil?
Thank you for asking. And it's this plays part into that, and then there's more to it that I want to speak to. So initially, when we're listening from a place of love and communicating from a place of love, we're not conforming to the patterns of this world, and we're being transformed from the inside out through the renewing of our mind, through listening from love and communicating from love. So it's, the mind is renewed through listening from the heart. So it's renewed from the heart. It's not like you're taking in more information and then it's renewed. More information is just more information. And the renewing of the mind occurs from listening and communicating from a place of love. And what that looks like exactly is that when you're listening to me speak right now and you're listening with your mind, there's a story going on inside of your head, and you're actually not listening if you're listening from the mind, because your mind is talking to you while you're listening, and it's saying something like this: what's that background? Why did they play the instruments they did at the beginning? He's holding his hand like that. What's the purpose of that? What's he gonna say next? Why is he talking like he is? That's the conversation of the ego. That's the conversation that can be going on in your head. And if you're listening from that space, that's not listening from love. That's listening from the ego. That's listening from the mind. And I would go as far as to say that that's not listening at all, because you're conversating while listening, so you're not even listening. And on the opposite side of that, when you're listening from love, the mind space becomes clear, and it's precise, and there's zero activity going on up here in the cerebral, and you're listening and you're feeling the energy from the words that are being portrayed, and it's all it's a feeling that is within, that you feel when another person is talking, and your mind is empty. And by empty, there's no conversation going on, there's no thoughts going on in your mind, and you're just listening. You're fully, so listening from love is also being fully present in the moment. And when you're fully present in the moment, a lot of the chatter that's going on ceases. And so that's what listening from love looks like. And then when you're listening from love, you're so present in the moment that after the person's done speaking, you can now respond to what he said, because you've been fully present with what has been being communicated. Another thing with that also is that love is simple and the ego is complicated. And so if when you're listening, there's all this complication going on about, is what he's saying the right thing, or is all this thing of the ego? If it's complicated, it's the ego. And if it's simple, if you can just understand it and it's very easily conveyed, that is love.
My mentor, Jonathan England, says that life is an 18-inch journey from the head to the heart. So right now, humanity, if humanity takes that journey from the head to the heart, that is the end of war, poverty, despair, pain. All these things are literally an 18-inch journey away. So we can look out there and we can blame situations and circumstances and events out there. And if we take responsibility for what's going on in here, am I living from past traumas or past events? See, most people don't even live in the present. Most people are constantly living in the past or in the future. So it creates this constant anxiety.
And the past and the future don't even exist. So they're living in a place that doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is the present moment, and the future is a continuation of present moments. And the future doesn't exist because the present is the only thing that exists. So with it being simple, what you were speaking to about, like if people are in their heart space, that war is over, poverty's over, I don't see that as being the case. Like I see, when you're in your heart space, none of those things matter in the first place. And it's a potential that they might end, but what's more of a reality is that most likely they would probably continue, but how you feel about it is different. And so right now, the collective ego, when something happens outside of them in their environment or wherever they're at, they react to it and they feel a certain way inside because this thing happened outside of them. And the shift is you, yes, you, I am fully responsible for how I feel, and nothing outside of me can affect my internal condition. And I declare that right now in this present moment. And so when we're fully responsible for our internal state and how we feel, it doesn't matter what's going on outside of us anymore, because regardless of what's going on outside of us, how we feel inside of us is, from my experience, a place of love, a place of gratitude, and a place of connection, which perpetuates peace in my internal space. So the shift is, and how it's so simple is right now, it's a shift from blame to responsibility, from blaming outside circumstances for how you feel to being responsible for how you feel. And that's the simple shift that is occurring on the planet right now. And more people are waking up and becoming aware of it. And so in that spirit and that space, when you're fully responsible for your feelings, for how you show up, for your way of being, for your integrity, all of it, when you're fully responsible, then what goes on outside of you now ceases to have any impact or effect on your internal state. And so that is the shift of being responsible for your entire way of being, and coming from a place of love, which is our natural state, and then living from that place.
So I want to elaborate on the word responsible, being responsible. When we get triggered, or when somebody says something that we get offended over, or anything like that, that is the ego that is getting triggered. That is the ego that's getting offended. So the proper thing to do, at least for myself, is to, okay, so for example, Neil says something that, you know, might offend me or whatever. And then it's not for me to take responsibility and be responsible. I go within myself and find that thing, that event, or that whatever happened that made that, I got offended over. And then I am now taking responsibility for how I show up, how I respond to that conversation, to that interaction with that other human being. So I just wanted to elaborate on responsible.
Yes. What you shared was a way to do the inner work, to do the shadow work. See, being responsible is being responsible for your shadow. That's also, so if you're not feeling peace, love, and joy, or peace, love, and connection, then there's something, specifically that something being your shadow, that is keeping you still from experiencing peace, love, and joy in the present moment. So when you recognize that, or when we become aware of it, it's our responsibility to do the inner work to clear up whatever that thing is that's keeping us from experiencing peace, love, and connection. And that is part of the journey. And yes.
And a lot of people, and myself included in the past, you know, I used to walk around with a smile, but behind that smile was a lot of grief and pain, and just, I didn't like myself. So the woke culture has made it seem okay to walk around with a smile and just hide behind the smile, hide all your shit. Well, what happens is, if we don't take care of that shit, finally, it just explodes. And it's like a big shit storm. So that is, and you smell really fucking bad. Ask me how I know, because it was me. So that is just adding to being responsible. And going back to love is simple. You know, if we have an interaction and there's a lot of words, if there is a lot of words that are being said, or somebody's not able to communicate in the proper form, it's very likely that they're communicating from their ego and not from their heart. So do you have anything to add?
Yes.
Do you feel complete? Or?
Well, with the response, being responsible. So me speaking right now, and even saying me speaking is not accurate because there is no me, there's just one. And so this vessel communicating to you, the only person that I ever can communicate to is myself. So there's no other person to speak to. So when you're interacting with another being, you're only speaking to yourself. So how are you speaking to yourself? And additionally, there's nothing outside of you that can offend you. You can only ever offend yourself because you're only ever speaking to yourself. And you can use outside circumstances, people, pets, interactions, events. You can use them to offend you, but it's you offending yourself. And when you get offended, you can take that as a sign that that's a trigger for something that's beneath the surface that still requires healing. And I just wanted to speak to that your offense is the part of you that still requires healing.
So do you have anything other than that you want to share, or you feel complete?
That feels complete. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. And with that, I appreciate your time. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We would love to have your feedback. And I'll see you sometime soon.